The ranch sat tucked into a valley basin, the kind of land men kill for, and most can't keep. Half-frozen creek, broken fencing, a barn full of shadows. Inside the modest cabin, Silas laid the girl on a cot. He didn't light a fire right away. First, he cleaned her wrists with boiled water, whispering to her like you'd speak to a wounded horse. She never screamed, never cried, just flinched. He wrapped her in an old army blanket, then poured a finger of whiskey into a tin cup, drank, half gave the rest to her. She took it without blinking. Sizzle stuff little thing, no reply. Only silence. Int. Town of Calico Ridge. That same Mrninja Calico Ridge wasn't a place. It was a rumor with buildings. Dust-covered, wind-scraped, crawling toward death like an old man who didn't know when to lie down. Main Street had one saloon, one general store, and a sheriff's office that hadn't seen real law in 5 years. Sheriff Jed Crow, 50-something, ran his thumb down a new telegram. His jaw clenched as he reread it. The words were plain. Telegram, escaped Apache girl last seen near Calico Ridge, known kin of renegade Chief Taza Redhawk. $500 reward, dead or alive. He folded it slowly, as though it were sharp. Sheriff Crow to himself, well, hell, ain't this a turn? Ext. General store porch LATR gossip moved faster than telegrams in Calico Ridge. By noon, half the town knew Bridger had brought something back. A bundle, bloody, carried like a secret MRS. Catherine Dale, widow and relentless, tongue-wagger, whispered to the butcher. Mr. Dar saw Bridger riding in from the east with a bundle, not a calf. Butcher'll be damned if that old ghost is hiding scalps now. Mr. Esdale wasn't scalp-sized. Inside the saloon, Judge Harlan Clay nursed his afternoon bourbon. Behind his smirk, ambition sharp enough to cut leather, he sipped slow and watched the dust rise beyond town. Judge Clay murmurs Apache in our midst. Sheriff better earn that tin star. Int. Bridger cabin night. A storm rolled across the mesa. Thunder distant but coming. Silas sat by the hearth, staring into the fire. The girl slept, though her face winced like she was dreaming of knives. He held a small locket in his hand. Inside, a photograph sepia-toned of a young woman and a baby. Both gone now. The girl stirred, eyes fluttering. Silas softly, you got a name? No answer. Silas, after a beat, didn't think so. He stood, walked to the table, and opened an old chest. Inside, a folded Union uniform, medals, a revolver. He took the gun, checked the chamber, then holstered it. Narrator VO, Silas Bridger. Didn't want to get involved, but life out here had a way of digging up the things you tried to bury. Sheriff's office. Next, Morananja Sheriff Crow adjusted his belt and stepped into the morning light. The town was awake with whispers. Sheriff Crow, to himself, gonna have to dig that bastard out of his hole. Ext. Bridger, RANCHLATR. Silas worked the land like he was trying to wear himself down to bone. Chopping kindling, repairing fence posts, avoiding the girl, but she didn't leave. Just watched him from the porch, wrapped in a blanket like a question. Finally, he spoke, not looking at her. Silasur, safe here, for now. A beat girl quietly wapai. He turned SILC again. GIR, my name, wapai. Silas soft wapai. What's it mean? Wapai. Morning wind. Silas, that's so. Well, morning wind. I reckon we better figure what kind of storm you done blown in from. Ext. Calico Ridge, same TI Mecro. Rode out with 2 deputies, rifles slung and hunger in their eyes. Not for justice. For bounty. Int. Bridger cabin moments. Ladder Wapaya touched the photo locket Silas left on the table. She traced the woman's face with a small finger. A knock at the door. Silas opened it to find Crow's smirk waiting. Sheriff. CROWI morning Bridger. Got a report of a trespasser. Thought maybe you'd seen anything. Unusual. Silas. Flat plenty of unusual. Jed, ain't all of it your business. Sheriff Crow stepping in ain't mine until it pays $500. He glanced past Silas, into the cabin. The bed, the blanket. Sheriff Crow, you sure you're alone? Silas stepped closer. Selassie, sure as hell ain't lonely enough to be lying. The two men stared, old scars between them. Finally, Crow tipped his hat. Sheriff Crowec, that's the trouble. With you, Silas. You think ghosts make you bulletproof, Silas? No, just less afraid of bleeding? Crow turned, whistled to his men. They rode off, but not far. Bridger cabin, and Silas poured water into a basin. Wapai winced as he cleaned her arm. He paused, spoke quiet. Silas wide, they hang you like that. Was it soldiers? She shook her head. Wapai softly, white men, not soldiers. Traitors, took me from camp. Said I'd fetch a price. Silas clenched his jaw. Silas, escape. She nodded. Wapi cut one, ran. They followed. I climbed a tree. They found me. A long silence. Then she reached into her blanket, pulled out a small, carved wooden horse, crude, but clearly handmade. Wapiami. Father made this. Silas choked. He's still out there. Wapiafi shot him at Fort Sumner. I don't think anyone's left. Silas stared into the fire. Narrator VO. In that moment, two things became true. She had no one left, and Silas Bridger couldn't pretend he didn't know what that felt like. Outside, thunder echoed faintly across the plain. Deepen. Continuing from the existing narrative tone and plot momentum of Section 1. This part expands character conflict, deepens emotional bonds, and introduces escalating danger with clear stakes. Section 2. The shadows deepen next. Bridger Ranch. Day 2. OVRCAST. The morning sun was just a dull smear behind a bank of thick clouds. The kind of day that smelled like rust and felt like waiting. Wapai sat by the chicken coop, gently feeding the birds. She moved with care, not just from pain, but from memory. Every sudden noise pulled her eyes westward. Silas chopped firewood, not watching her, but aware. Silas mutters, storm's holding its breath. He looked up, and not toward the sky, toward the tree line. Movement, fast, gone. He reached for the Henry. Rifle propped against the fence post, Silas inside. Now, Wapai didn't argue. She ran for the house. Silas stood still for a moment, scanning the pines. A single raven took flight. Then silence. But he knew eyes were on him. .ext. Calico Ridge, Sheriff's Office, same TMA. Sheriff Crow sat behind his desk, scrawling a letter slowly, deliberately. A bounty poster lay folded beside his ink pot. Deputy Maynard Finch leaned in the doorway, spitting tobacco. FINCH. We're just gonna let Bridger keep that girl. CROWLET. Hell, Finch. You ever try letting a mountain do anything? FINCH. So what then? CROWE. Wait. He looked out the window at the distant hills. CROWM. Like Bridger. They crumble from the inside. Just need a little time and a little fire. Ixt. Bridger Ranch. Later that NIGHD. The fire cracked soft in the hearth. Wapai sat on the floor, cross-legged, carving something into a piece of bone. Silas poured 2 tin cups of hot chicory. Silas, you carve like someone taught you. She didn't look up. Wapiami uncle. He made stories from antlers. She held it up, a crude horse again, but this one with marks down the side, tally lines. Silas, what's that mean? Wapi, days since I ran. A beat, then, softly. Wapi, you have children. Silas stared into his cup. Long enough that the fire popped. Silas had a boy. Name was Luke. Rode with the 6th Kansas. Never came home. Wapi, your wife. SILAS, hollow buried. In the winter of '78. Fever took her before the thaw came. She nodded. like she'd known the answer before asking, like she was trying to understand the shape of his grief to match her own. Wapa you were both ghosts. Silas gave a dry breath of a laugh. No smile. Silas difference is ghosts don't bleed. Ext. Woods near the ranch. Midnight a figure crouched beneath the tree line. A pale man with missing fingers and a snake tattoo curling around his wrist. Micah Turner, one of the traders who'd taken Wapai. He watched the cabin through a spyglass, face twisted in a sneer. Beside him, two more, Ramsey thin and cracked, with old sunburns, and a grizzled ex-scout named Banner, whose Cherokee blood earned him nothing but suspicion from both sides. Micey H's in there, little rats, still breathing. Ramcy, you sure it's her? Mikahi, know what I hung from that tree. Banner, coldly. You tied a child to die, and left her for buzzards. Micah turned. Micah, she. Stole from us. Banner, she's 10. Micah, that 10-year-old's worth $500. And I ain't walking away from that. They stared at the cabin lights in the distance. Miskawi, wait till dawn. INT. Calico Ridge Saloon, NIGHT. The saloon glowed with oil lamp flicker and regret. Judge Harlan Clay sat at a back table with two traveling men, one black, one barely breathing under bandages. Judge Clau, say the girl's kin to Taza Red Hawk. Bandaged Emianshi, called him father. Fought at Fort Sumner. Cialithan, she's worth more than gold. He set down his glass. Cialithan, she's a martyr. Alive, she's leverage. Either way, she's a spark. TRAVELR spark. For what? Judge CLI for fire. There's a rail coming through this territory, and nothing burns cleaner than fear.ext. Bridger, RANCH, DAW and snow began to fall. Dry flakes that whispered instead of landed. Silas stood with a rifle at his side, watching the horizon. Something in his bones stirred. Inside, Wapai stared at the wooden horse she'd carved. She placed it carefully on the windowsill. Next to it, the photograph locket. Then she stood. Wapi want to learn how to shoot. Silas turned. Silas what for? Wapi so. Next time I don't run. A long beat. Then. Silas nodded once. Ixt. Firing line. LATR. They stood behind hay bales. A tin can rested on a fence post, 20 yards out. Silas handed her a small revolver, his hand steady over hers. Silas' grip firm, breath slow. Squeeze. Don't pull, she fired. Missed. He didn't flinch. Silas again. By the 5th shot, she hit it. By the 6th, she smiled. INT. Bridger cabin in IGHT. Silas sat cleaning his rifle. Wapai slept curled near the fire. Outside, the wind shifted. A horse, NICKE, red dot a boot, crunched. Then silence. Silas stood, slow and calm, crossed the room, opened a drawer, took out his revolver. Then a window shattered. Gunshot. Silas dropped to the floor, pulling Wapai down with him. Another shot. He crawled to the table, flipped it for cover. Silas yells, "You picked the wrong goddamn house." Ixt cabin, CON, TOA Smika, and Ramsey ducked behind barrels. Laughing as they reloaded, my CH thought this'd be harder. Banner crouched beside them, tense. Banone lied. That ain't no drunk rancher. He's Union, decorated, couldn't matter. 3 bullets, or 30 girls, coming out. INT. Bridger cabin. Same time Wapai trembled, holding the small revolver. Silas loaded a shell with bleeding fingers. Silas can, you run. She nodded. Silas then listened close. He handed her the locket. Silas, if I fall, you take this, and ride to Fort Defiance. Show them this. They'll protect you. Wapayul, come to. Silas. Quietly, don't plan on falling. But his eyes said something else. Ext. Cabin. Moments. LATR smoke from the chimney turned black. Gunpowder and desperation. Then the front door burst open. Silas charged, rifle blazing. Micah's shoulder exploded in blood. Ramsey screamed as a shot tore through his thigh. Banner hesitated, then turned his gun. On Micah. Gunshot. Micah fell face first into the snow. Banner coldly wasn't for the girl, was for mercy. Silas stared at Banner, gun raised. CLAC, with M. BINO, are not anymore. They stood in the falling snow, 3 bodies cooling between them. The world hushed. Then from the cabin Wapai stepped out. She held the locket in one hand, and the revolver in the other. She didn't shake. Narrator VO. The plains remembered blood. They soaked it in, held it like a promise. But that morning, something else took root in the frost. Not vengeance, not victory, something closer to family. The wind changed that morning, came in dry, not like rain or snow, but like thirst, an omen in the high desert. Silas rose before the sun, rifle in hand. He didn't trust quiet anymore. Wapai stood barefoot in the frost, watching the ridge. She didn't shiver. Silas gruff, "You're up early." "Wapa, something's coming." He didn't argue, just nodded once, and set to checking the barn doors again. Int. Calico Ridge Saloon, same TME. Judge Harlan Clay smoothed the edges of a document before him. A land seizure writ. His pen hovered as he addressed Sheriff Crow. "Judge C. Bridger Falls. We claim the land as forfeit. The girl's a threat, but she's also a tool. Sheriff Sierra Win. Bridger. Judge Cialumake, it look righteous. Don't matter how. Finch, Crow's deputy, leaned in from the corner. Fianch, we could burn him out." Clay took a slow sip of whiskey. "Judge CLONO, we let the fire come to him. It's already lit. EXT. Bridger Ranch, LAT." Or Silas handed Wapai an old Colt revolver, short-barreled, suited for a child's hands. Her grip was still awkward, but her eyes steady. "Silas Trigger's light. Don't pull unless you mean to end a man." She nodded. No bravado, just understanding. "Silas, softer, you remember what they did. That's enough. Wapi, you don't want revenge." She looked him straight on. "Wapai, can't. I want to be free." Silas looked away. Freedom had a cost he'd paid once, and never forgot. Int. Calico Ridge, jailhouse. D.A. Wymaka Turner's body lay on a slab, face half blasted, but the sheriff's office was more concerned with the papers in his coat. A crude map, some names, and a folded ledger, with trading routes and inventory. Taz's daughter, hold for auction. Crow stared at it. "Sheriff CROWI proof, if anyone needs it. That girl's kin to rebellion." He closed the ledger and looked up at Clay, who stood in the doorway. "CLOI then, let's stir the town. EXT, Calico Ridge, Town Square." That AFTA or Noan. Crow nailed the bounty poster to the church door. Townsfolk gathered, whispers rising like vultures on a draft. Poster reads, "Apache girl escaped custody. Armed. Dangerous. $500 reward. Dead or alive." Mrs. Dale clutched her shawl tighter. Mrs. Da, little savage, might already have Bridger under some kind of spell. Judge. Clay stepped onto the porch, arms raised. "CLAY, the law is not vengeance. But neither is it blindness. If we do nothing, the fire spreads." Crowd murmurs grew teeth. Clay taunted, "You think she's just a girl, but her father led raids that left settlers in pieces. If she escapes justice, what message do we send?" "Number," one cheered, but no one left. Ext. Bridger Ranch, nightfall. Wappies watched Silas clean his rifle by lamplight. Her hands trembled once, just once. "Wappy, you ever kill a man?" He paused, then resumed polishing. "Sizzle-ass, more than I wanted. Fewer than I deserved." She held the locket in her hand, quietly opened it. The picture inside glowed in the firelight. "Wapa, you, is she your daughter?" "See, Alice, my wife. That was our son." She closed the locket carefully. "Wapa, you think ghosts ever find peace?" Siles not by hiding. That's all I know. .ext. High Plains, next morning. Group rode hard. Finch, 2 hired guns, and a Cherokee scout named Banner. Quiet and unreadable. Finch to Banner, you know these woods. You track her. You earn double. Banary. Know this land. It don't belong to you. FINCH. Then pick a side. Scout. Banner didn't answer. INT. Bridger cabin, same time Wapai unrolled an old war map across the table. Silas glanced at it, confused. Silas, you get that, Wapia, me father kept it. It shows trails no white man knows. She pointed to a canyon 2 days south. Wapi safe place there. Used to be ours. Silas leaned in. Silas, if we leave, they'll follow. If we stay, they'll burn it down. He met her gaze. Silas can't. But if we move first, ... She nodded. A plan had begun. Ext. Hills above the ranch. NIGHT Banner knelt beside faint. HOOFPRINTS. Banner small light. 2 riders. Finch stepped up. FINCH, that's them. Banner nodded, but he didn't say which way they went. Ext. Hidden PASS, SUNSET. Silas and Wapai rode, single file, shadows long. They said nothing, but their silence had changed. It wasn't wait anymore, it was packed. They crested the ridge. Below the land stretched wide in gold. Still wild. Wapi, you think I remember this place? She pointed to a low stone marker, half buried. Conti, he brought me here when I was little. Said no army could follow a spirit into the canyon. CLS, let's hope he was right. Ext. Calico Ridge. That same NIGHT sheriff. Crow stepped into the saloon, lit cigar clenched between his teeth. Crowathere. Gone. South by the river. Banner says it's some old Apache ghost trail. CLA wide then. We bring the fire to them. He nodded to Finch. Clay countered, ride to Fort Lowell. Tell them we've got a live one. A daughter of Taza. Tell them the bounty's not just 500. It's a message. INT. Desert Cavern. NIGHT. Silas and Wapai made camp inside a shallow rock hollow. Coyotes howled somewhere far off. Wapai curled near the fire. Wapai, youth. They catch us. Don't let them take me. He looked over. Silas, they won't. Wapai, promise. Silas, you have my word. And in the stillness, his voice nearly broke. Silas can't. I didn't keep my son. I'll keep you. A long beat. Then Wapathan, I'll keep you too. Ext. High MESA. DAWNA. The sun bled across the cliffs. The posse appeared like smoke on the horizon. Finch, hired guns, and behind them, a column of cavalry dust. But on the trail below, no fresh tracks remained. Just an old locket, left open in the dirt, inside a photograph of a woman and child, and carved into the rock nearby. One word etched by a knife.